السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الصلاة والسلام الأتمان الأكملان على خير خلق الله أجمعين، نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن استنى بسنته واهتدى بهديه إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد. Brothers and sisters, welcome all of you to the second session of our explanation of the book Masaailul Jaahiliyyah, Sharhu Masaailul Jaahiliyyah. Alhamdulillah, in our previous class, we discussed about the importance of seeking knowledge and about the intentions and how we should be while we are seeking knowledge and the things we need to take care of, especially when we are sitting and studying from online sources, especially YouTube or videos like this or online classes. I hope that you have followed or you are following all those instructions which I have given, inshallah, before we begin with this class. So in our last class, we looked at the introduction of the book. What exactly is the book? What does it explain? How important it is for us to study it, and about the author, how relevant the book for today's time, right? Masaailul Jahiliyyah. If you have not watched the previous video completely, I request you to watch the video completely. And today we are going to start with the text itself. As I had told you in our class before, I recommend and I advise each and every one of you to try to memorize the matan. The matan is not long, the matan is very short, and it can be easily memorized. As Sheikh Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah used to say that, even though they used to memorize a lot and lot compared to us, but he would say that what we have benefited from our memorization, yani we have memorized a little, and compared to us it is much more, but he's saying that we have memorized a very little, but we have read a lot. But what we have memorized from, what we have benefited from the memorization is much, much more than what we have benefited from just reading. So the ilm, the knowledge is from the memory, brothers and sisters. So make sure that you try to memorize the text or the dalail, inshallah. Okay, so let's begin with the text. The text, as you can see, it starts with Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. However, as we can see, many of the texts by Sheikh Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab rahimahullah, he begins with Basmala, and also many of the muallifin or the authors, they start their book with Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. This is in following the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and also as shown by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran. The Quran also begins with the Basmala in Surah Al-Fatiha. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, in the name of Allah, Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim. I won't go into the details of the explanation of Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim or the tajweed aspect of it or the grammatical aspects of it, but just we need to know that it is from the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that whenever we begin something good, we start with the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? And it was from the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that whenever he would write letters to the kings calling them to Islam, he would instruct to write the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So following the footsteps of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the ulama, they also, the mutaakhirin and the mutaqaddimin, they write or they start their kitab, their treatise with the basmala. Okay. الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وبعد قال شيخ الإسلام محمد بن عبد الوهاب. Now, whenever we are reading a book or whenever we are reading a hadith, it is from the etiquettes that we begin with saying قال, because this is not my speech. Islam has given very, very much importance to isnad. What is isnad? The chain of transmission, right? Why? In order to ascribe the statements to its people. Not saying that this is my speech or not making it so that the people think that it is my speech. So it is from the etiquette that whenever you are, for example, you recite a book from Sahih al-Bukhari, you start reading the book. You don't just start with An Ibn Muhammad or An Fulan. No, but rather you begin with Qala قال البخاري رحمه الله. Imam Bukhari has said عن Muhammad, from Muhammad. So it is a statement of Imam Bukhari, not your statement. So likewise, the text, the one who has printed this, or the sharih, the one who has made the explanation, he says قال شيخ الإسلام محمد ibn Abdul Wahhab. Okay, Shaykh al-Islam Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab rahimahullah, he said. Why Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab rahimahullah is called as Shaykh al-Islam? In Islamic history, we can see very few people had this title, Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, and likewise Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. They were all considered as Shaykh al-Islam. Why? One explanation is that they were the mujaddid of their time. When people were completely into the bid'ah and the khurafat and dalal, these mashayikh or these ulama, they came and they guided the people, and they sowed the seed of that, what do you say, guiding the people to the correct path of Islam. That is one reason they are considered, or they are called as Shaykhul Islam. Another reason is that they are so efficient in all the sciences of Islam. For example, it is said with regards to Shaykhul Islam Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, that if he starts explaining the Quran, then it is said that he is the master of tafsir. And when he starts talking about hadith, it would be said that he is the best muhaddis, he is the toppest muhaddis with regards to his knowledge on hadith. Likewise, if he talks about fiqh, he gives ruling on fiqh, then he is the best of the faqih. So they, or the one who has the title of Shaykhul Islam, they are well versed in all the sciences of Islam. طيب قال شيخ الإسلام محمد بن عبد الوهاب رحمه الله, who is the author of this kitab, في مقدمة رسالته, in the introduction of his text. So this is the introduction given by Sheikh Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab rahimahullah himself to his kitab Masaailul Jaahiliyyah. Right? So in our last class we discussed what is Masaailul Jaahiliyyah, what does it mean, etc. Then the text starts. هذه مسائل. Okay. هذه مسائل خالف فيها رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أهل الجاهلية الكتابيين والأميين مما لا غنى للمسلم عن معرفتها. Let's see what does the Shaykh says. The Shaykh says هذه مسائل, or this مسائل, these aspects that the people of the days of ignorance, both the people of the book as well as the non-people of the book, the ummiyin, the illiterate, were upon, which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam opposed. Now let's break down this. طيب. So here هذه مسائل خالف فيها رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. These aspects are something what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had opposed. خالف. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam opposed these aspects. From whom? Ahlul Jahiliyyah. From Ahlul Jahiliyyah, people of Jahala. And who are they? Al-Kitabiyyin wal-Ummiyin. And they are the Kitabiyyin, Ahlul Kitab. Who are they? Al-Yahud wal-Nasara, the Jews and the Christians. Wal-Ummiyin, the illiterate. Let's see inshallah who are these people. But before that, let's see when هذه مسائل خالف فيها رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. خالف رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, when he came with al-Islam, okay, he opposed many of the practices upon which were practiced by the people of Mecca. Even before the Nubuwah, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he opposed these practices. However, there were many practices which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had affirmed, he did not oppose it. So there are matters which were opposed by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam when he came with Nubuwah. Okay, and there are matters which was not really changed. Yani we know that Islam did not come to destroy the civilization which were before, yani during the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what was being practiced, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He did not completely erased it. Whatever or wherever the reformation was necessary, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reformed it. Wherever the deletion was necessary, He deleted it and He cancelled it. And wherever addition was necessary, required, He added it. So it was a modification of that civilization, not the destroyment of the complete civilization. For example, there was Hajj during the time of Jaahiliyyah. The people used to do the Hajj, but it was not in the same way how it is being performed after the Nubuwwah, how Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reformed it. Likewise, the marriage, the nikah which is Islamically accepted now was also being practiced during the time of Jahiliyyah. But at the same time, they had other types of nikah also, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam abolished it. So there were issues that was accepted by the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam or al-Islam, and there are people which are opposed. And what we are discussing here is khalafa, what Islam opposes. Okay, for example, maintaining the ties of kinship. It was present during the time of Jahiliyyah. So it doesn't mean that we are going to oppose everything from the days of Jahiliyyah. No, but we oppose what was opposed to what Allah Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has come with. What is opposing the Sharia, what is opposing the Quran was Sunnah. I hope it is clear. Okay, and these masail or these aspects of ignorance were from Ahlul Jahiliyyah. And who are Ahlul Jahiliyyah? Al-Kitabiyyin wal-Ummiyin. Now let's see who are Al-Kitabiyyin wal-Ummiyin. Al-Kitabiyyin wal-Ummiyin are Jews. Al-Kitabiyyin are Jews and Christians, people of the book. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He has mentioned about them in so many different places of the Quran. Ya Ahl al-Kitab, Ya Ahl al-Kitab, isn't it? In so many ayat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called them as Ahlul Kitab. And Ahlul Kitab here means Jews and Christians. And Ummiyin, unlettered, yani the people who did not have the book. They did not have no divine book. Whereas the Jews and the Christians, Allah had sent them messengers with the Kitab. Musa alayhi salam and Isa alayhi salam. And when you take the messengers of Banu Israel, there are so many prophets. So Jews and Christians, they did had the book, however they distorted it. Whereas the unlettered, the people of Makkah, the worshippers of idols, the worshippers of tree, the worshippers of stones, ahjar, qamar, washams, they used to worship everything, and they did not have any book. And who are they? The pagans who didn't practice Islam, or the pagans who did not follow Jews and Christians. They had their own religion. Yani they used to worship everything. طيب? So they are al-ummiyin. So the Shaykh Salih al-Fawzan hafidahullah, he says that the kitabiyun, it refers to the people of book, Jews and the Christians. And the Jews had the book, the Torah, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed to Musa alayhi salam, and the Christians had the Bible or the Gospel, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed to Isa ibn Maryam. And this is why they are called the people of the book. However, some people, if you see the book of some tafsir of some of the people, in the ayah or in the surah Bayyina, lam yakun alladhina, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying, where he says about mushrikina, yani the mushrikeen and Ahlul Kitab, he differentiated them in one ayah. لم يكن الذين كفروا من أهل الكتاب والمشركين. Okay, so there, for that ayah, some of the people like Maulana Maududi, they make the comment saying that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he did not made or he did not ascribe the shirk to the people of the book. So they should not be called as mushrikeen. And some people, they go overboard and they say that they should not be even considered as mushrikeen. They are our cousins, subhanallah. So they say that the reason for that is because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he did not call them as mushrikeen, but rather he called them as Ahlul Kitab. So how are you guys calling them as mushrikeen, that they commit shirk, when Allah did not call them as mushrikeen? Now we need to know why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called them as people of the book. Why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not call them as mushrikeen? Is it because they do not commit shirk? Subhanallah. In so many ayat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned that they are mushrikeen. There is no doubt that they are mushrikeen. They worshipped Isa alayhi salam, they believed in the Trinity. How cannot be the mushrikeen? But the reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he differentiated the Ahlul Kitab and the mushrikeen is because these were the two people who were living at that time, during the time of Jaahiliyyah, who had different practices, who had different beliefs. The people of the book had different beliefs. They used to follow that distorted book, which were distorted by them. And the mushrikeen, they would worship anything and everything, whatever was available to them. Okay, so the Ahlul Kitab, they too are mushrikeen, no doubt about it. If they worship anyone besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or along with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because among them, there were people who did not worship Isa alayhi salam or Harun or Musa alayhi salam. Right? They used to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And they were waiting for a prophet to come amongst them. Anyways, so they are, that is the reason for the differentiation of Ummiyin and Ahlul Kitab. To make sure or to know, to differentiate that there were two different kinds of people with two different kinds of belief system. So it doesn't mean that Ahlul Kitab are not mushrikeen. Likewise, Al-Ummiyun. Who are Al-Ummiyun? This refers to the Arabs. This refers to the Arabs that did not practice any of the mentioned religion, yani the Jews and the Christians. They are called as Ummiyun, yani the plural of Ummiyun is the plural of Ummi. Okay, Ummi. So because it is an ascription to mother, because for the most part they were people that did not write or read, and they were also called this because they had no divine books prior to the Quran. There are two reasons the ulama, they mention why they are called as Ummiyun. The first reason is they were illiterate, they could not read or write. Second is they did not have the book like how the Ahlul Kitab had. This is why they are called as Ummiyun. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَالَّذِي بَعَثَ فِي الْأُمِّيِّينَ رَسُولًا مِّنْهُمْ. He is the one, هو الذي, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who sent to the Ummiyin, بَعَثَ فِي الْأُمِّيِّينَ رَسُولًا مِّنْهُمْ, a messenger from among them. Likewise, وَمَا آتَيْنَاهُمْ مِنْ كُتُبٍ يَدْرُسُونَهَا وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَا إِلَيْهِمْ قَبْلَكَ مِنْ نَذِيرٍ. And we had not given them scriptures which they could study, nor sent them before you any warner. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses both the thing in any, both definition can be found in these two ayat. In first ayah of Surah Al-Jum'ah, ayah second, huwa alladhi ba'atha fil ummiyina rasulan minhum. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that Allah had sent a messenger to the ummiyin, unlettered ones. In the other ayah of Surah Saba, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that they were the people who were not given any book, and there was no prophet sent to them as warner. So that is the meaning of Ummiyun. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also described Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam as being an Ummi. Even Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was an Ummi, and he did not read, he could not read, nor he could write. الذين يتبعون رسول النبي الأمية, isn't it? يجدونه مكتوبا عندهم في التوراة والإنجيل. Those who follow the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam messenger, the Ummi prophet, Rasul al-Nabi al-Ummiya, who could neither read nor write, whom they find written about them in the Tawrat wal Injil, in Injil. يأمرهم بالمعروف وينهاهم عن المنكر. He commands them the ma'ruf, the good, وَيَنْهَاهُمْ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ, and he forbids them from evil. So the fact that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was ummi, yani he could neither read nor write, and that he came with this tremendous book, that is the Quran, is a proof for the truthfulness of messengership. And it is also from the miracles, and we know that Quran is the greatest miracle of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the Arabs are considered as ummiyun, and their prophet too, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is an ummi. And before Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam he came, you know that the world was in a state of deviation. It was, you know, all the people were deviated, like whether it is people of the book, the people who had the Torah and the Injil, and the people, the mushrikeen of Makkah. They were all in a state of deviation. This was the case for all the inhabitants of earth, except for some people among the scripture, like Waraqat ibn Nawfal and some others, who remained upon the true religion of Ibrahim alayhi salam. However, before Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam came, yani when the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam nubuwa, many of them had perished. They had become extinct. So the darkness had turned pitch black throughout the land. There was no guidance. There was no light or lamp of guidance. It was stated in a hadith that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala looked at the inhabitants of the earth and hated all of them, both Arabs and non-Arabs, except for some people remaining from the people of the book, those who followed the true teachings of a Torah and the Injil. So this is what the Ummiyun refers to, Al-Kitabiyun and Ummiyun. So the Masail which we are going to study in this book, it can come from both the people. It can come from the Jews, Christians, or it can come from the Mushrikun, the people who did not have any book, or the Mushrikeen of Makkah. Easily you can say Mushrikeen of Makkah. Okay, because in Makkah the majority of the people were Mushrikeen, right? There were very, very few people who followed Jews or Christianity. But in Medina, many of them were Jews and Christians. Anyways, the next, Shaykh al-Islam Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab rahimahullah, he brings a poem or a line of a poem where he says, فَضِدُّ before that, afwan, he says, مِمَّا لَا غِنَى لِلْمُسْلِمِ عَنْ مَعْرِفَتِهَا. These are the matters that every Muslim is required to possess the knowledge of. He cannot be free from it. He cannot say that I'm sufficient. I don't need to understand about the people of Jaahiliyyah. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has come. We have the Quran and the Sunnah. Why do I need to know about what happened before Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? We have the Quran and the Sunnah. Let's study that. Khalas. That's enough. No. Shaykh al-Islam Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab rahimahullah says that these are the matters every Muslim, not student of knowledge, but rather every Muslim is required to possess. And we have already explained the reason for it. In our last class, I have explained why it is important for us to know the importance or to study this book. I have told you about the hadith of Hudayfah ibn al-Yaman, isn't it? For some, how important it is for us to know the shar, right? It is very important for us to know what are the bad things. Why? So that we can stay in the safer side. We can, only follow the good things, and we can save ourselves from falling into the evil and the bad things. However, it is not enough. One should also know the khair. Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah, he says that there are three kinds of people with regards to this. One group of people, they know only the shar, they don't know the khair. And the other group of the people, they know only the khair, they don't know the shar. And the third group of people, they are the best of the people who knows the shar as well as the khair, so that they can distinguish between the two, and they can follow the shar, follow the khair and stay away from the shar. Okay, so in the next line, Shaykh al-Islam Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab rahimahullah, he brings the line from the poem, فَالضِّدُّ يُظْهِرُ حُسْنَهُ الضِّدُّ وَبِضِدِّهَا تَبَيَّنُ الْأَشْيَاءُ. He says here, فَالضِّدُّ يعني the opposite thing. The opposite thing, يُظْهِرُ حُسْنَهُ الضِّدُّ. It, with the understanding, I'm not going to do the exact translation of the poem because, of course, it is difficult to understand. Yani the goodness of other side of the opposite can be made apparent. Yani with the understanding of one side of the opposite, the goodness of the other side of the opposite can be made apparent. And then he says that وَبِضِدِّهَا تَبَيَّنُ الْأَشْيَاءُ, and it is by making the opposite of something that matters become clarified. Yani he's saying, yani the poem, he's saying, poet is saying that an opposite thing, the thing that is opposite to something else, it clarifies what is the opposite, what is its opposite. Okay, and these opposite things are what clarifies the matters. For example, uh, you know the Athar of Hudayfah ibn al-Yaman radiallahu anhu, right? uh, Hudayfah ibn al-Yaman radiallahu anhu, he says about his statements, that I used to ask Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam about the evil things, or the things that is good, about the shar, the matters of shar. Why? He says, so that I do not fall into it. So he is studying the opposite of khair, isn't it? He is asking Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam about the opposite of khair. Why? So that the other opposite becomes clear. What is the other opposite? That is the khair. When you study the shar, the khair becomes apparent. Likewise, the statement of Umar radiallahu anhu, where he says that if the people, they come and do not know about the Masaailul Jaahiliyyah and about what the people of Jaahiliyyah used to do, then what happens? The bond of Islam will be removed one by one. Why? Because since they do not know the opposites, they don't know the khair or the shar, they might do or they might follow the shar. Likewise, when we study the books, like for example, studying of Nawaqidul Islam, or studying of Nawaqidul Udu, and Nawaqidul, what breaks the fasting. Why do we study this? Huh? Why do we study Nawaqidul Islam? What nullifies our Islam? Or why do we study Nawaqidul Wudu? What breaks the wudu, or what breaks the fasting? So that we stay away from it, the first thing. And the second thing is that the opposite of it becomes apparent. What doesn't break becomes apparent. Likewise, here also, when we study the shar, it helps us to understand the khair. Second thing, Sheikh Abdul Razak al-Badr hafidahullah, in his explanation, he says that one of the benefit of one of the benefit uh, of studying this Masaailul Jahiliyyah is that we have that feeling, or we have that understanding of the beauty of Islam, how beautiful Islam is. And we say thank to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this Islam, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose us Islam, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed us to follow the deen of Allah, the deen that is clear, that the deen that is beautiful, the deen that does not have any illogical things. So this is one of the benefit of studying the khair and the shar. And then the Shaykh says, فَأَحَمُّ مَا فِيهَا وَأَشَدُّهَا خَطْرًا, and the dangerous and the most important aspect of this is عَدَمُ إِيمَانِ الْقَلْبِ بِمَا جَاءَ بِهِ الرَّسُولُ صلى الله عليه وسلم. This is the very important point, brothers and sisters. The next point, the Shaykh Rahimahullah, he says that the most important of these aspects, yani the aspects of Jahiliyyah, the aspects of the days of ignorance, and most severe in terms of the danger, in terms of danger, is the absence of faith in the heart, the absence of Iman in the heart, for what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam he came with. Any people of the days of ignorance, whether it is the mushrikeen of Makkah or the Ahlul Kitab, they denied Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and didn't believe in him, nor did they accept the guidance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that he sallallahu alaihi wasallam brought to them. They rejected it. They said, we are not going to believe in you. We don't even believe that you are a messenger. We don't even believe that you are coming with the wahi. So there are so many evils of Jahiliyyah, but what is the most evilest? That is the lack of Iman, the lack of belief in Tawheed of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There were zina, there was slavery, there was killing, there was robbery, there was killing of their own children. All these are immorality of Jahiliyyah. But what is the most severe of it? That is worshipping of other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Absence and lack of Iman. Brothers and sisters, the morality, it emanates from Iman. The akhlaq, it emanates from Iman. As Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ. Indeed, I was just sent to complete the akhlaq, the perfection of the akhlaq. Some people may believe that it doesn't matter what what Iman you have, or in which God you believe, or what God you believe. Even if you are an atheist, it doesn't matter. You become a good human being. But how does a person becomes a good human being? Unless and until a person has good Iman, he believes in Allah, he cannot become a good human being, brothers and sisters. There is no morality without Iman. And that is the reason the Shaykh Rahimahullah is saying that the most evilest of the thing is the lack of Iman, Adamul Iman. And then he says, فَإِنَّ إنضاف إلى ذلك استحسان ما عليه أهل الجاهلية تمت الخسارة كما قال تعالى والذين آمنوا بالباطل وكفروا بالله أولئك هم الخاسرون. Yani if approval for what the people of the Masaailul or Jaahiliyyah were upon is further added to this, yani added to the lack of Iman, then the total ruin is achieved. Thammatil khasara, the complete destruction has achieved. Like how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said, وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا بِالْبَاطِلِ, and those who believe in falsehood, وَكَفَرُوا بِاللَّهِ, and while disbelieving in Allah, أُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْخَاسِرُونَ, and they are the complete losers. They lose the dunya as well as the akhirah. Yani, Shaykh al-Islam Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab rahimahullah is saying that if approval for what the people of the days of ignorance were upon is further added to this absence, yani a person, he does not believe in anything, yani he does not believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? And he says that this aspect, that when a person doesn't believe in Allah, he does not have Iman in his heart, this is the most evilest, and this is the most worst of the sin, isn't it? Worst of the matters of Jahiliyyah. But if he approves of the matters of Jahiliyyah along with having this disbelief, then the total ruin is achieved, complete corruption. So the corruption will occur outwardly and inwardly. The inner corruption, it refers to the lack of faith, lack of Iman in what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam came with, the Quran and the Sunnah. And the outer corruption is what? That refers to approving of the aspects of the days of ignorance. So he says that I don't believe in Allah, I don't believe in Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he accepts, he affirms the matters of Jahiliyyah. So this is destruction upon destruction, the worst of the worst. So if both the outer and inner aspects become corrupt, then the total ruin is achieved. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala save us from that. So this is the consequence of being ignorant and unaware of the aspects of days of ignorance, brothers and sisters. Many people, they have the lack of iman, but they also affirm or they approve the acts of Masaailul Jaahiliyyah, the aspects of days of ignorance. So it is not permissible to approve of what the people of days of ignorance were upon, but rather it is compulsory upon us to reject that and leave it completely, even if you don't believe in it. This is very, very important. Okay, so this is the end of the matan of the introduction of what Sheikh Muhammadin Abdul Wahhab has given, rahimahullah, has given for his treatise, and then he